Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the last live stream of the week on a Friday afternoon, 3 p.m. Pacific. How are we doing today? I hope you're doing well. Got any good plans for the weekend? Oh, I try to do that ever so elegantly. There we go. My chair. I knew I was going live today, but I did not schedule it until my assistant said, are you going live today? I was like, yeah, it's all set up. And it wasn't. So I do apologize if you didn't get the notifications. Sarah did try to get it all out on Instagram and things like that. But it should be a good little subject though. I was rushing around before I had to go and work out. Hey. Who said that? I didn't say that. I don't know what that setting is. I did not type that out at all. YouTube. Stop impersonating me. Hey Mina, great to have you here. I'm doing pretty good. It's great weather right now. Like I said, I walked out. Did some nice work this morning. Went for a couple of nice WALKs. Because you can't really see him, he's all wrapped up. I got my little boy over there. Down there. Just there. Just there. The little Sebastian. Been a good boy. So I rushed back and went for a little wander to the DOG-PARK. No friends were there, but he had a good little pottering around. So I've had him since Tuesday night? Well, Wednesday night, I think it was. And I'll have him until Wednesday, I think, or Tuesday. So we have some boys' nights ahead with me, little C, and Sebastiano. Good afternoon, Cheryl. I hope you're doing well, all the way in Australia. So yeah, you can't really see him much. My brightness is all the way up on that camera, but I got a dark room. Hey Caroline, I'm doing wonderful, thank you. Doing wonderful. YouTube is growing. My YouTube channel, my strategy. I changed strategy about 6 months ago. And it's working. Because I like to think of it as a you and I, we're getting 1,500 subscribers a month now on YouTube. And now, in the last 28 days, we've had 126, almost, I'm going to round it up because it's like 800, but so 127 127,000 views on YouTube, which is crazy. And we've got 28,667 subscribers now. And just to put in context, last month was 100,000, just over. Month before that, there's like views, was in the 80s. So we're growing, we're doing the work. It's adding an extra day to my work day, but we're doing the work. Creating the content. We released a hypnosis session on Wednesday as usual for our highly sensitive peeps. So if you feel like you kind of take on people's energy too much, it kind of, around big groups, it kind of zaps you, those energy vampires. The day version went out on Wednesday, and the sleep one is coming out on the app next week, on YouTube maybe next week, and we got a 4-hour one, and let's do all the news. If you go to my app, we've got new 4-hour sleep sessions and titles there. So the 4-hour sleep sessions, we've got the Ask the Universe for What You Want. We've got a Self-Love and Self-Worth 4-hour sleep session. We've got the Find Your Purpose sleep session, 4 hours. We've got the Fear of Success / Confidence and Motivation, 4 hours. And then, so that's in the sleep section. Sorry, little Sebastian. In the long sleep section, oh, we missed it. You know where it is if you got the app. You'll get to it in a minute. But you also have the day and the sleep versions in the main hypnosis library as well. So we're getting it out there. I've done the work that we're pretty much releasing a new video on YouTube every single day, other than the live streams days, which is Monday and Fridays. And I think we're out till mid-April. We're all set up. We're set up. I think that should be like that. Not that. That. I've grown. I should be like that. Not that. Oh my goodness, the noise of my mouse. Maybe, we'll see. That'll be more of a Sunday thing, but I can't really say the name because he might put pressure on me. There's that or the Pizza, and I wasn't planning on either of those. He's doing a lot better, thank you for asking. So if you didn't know, he's blind in one eye, had an operation on his other eye, then it had a laceration, and the healing of the laceration caused more blindness because it was doing whatever it does, getting it out of the system. And he was pretty scared for a while, as you can imagine. But dogs are great with their sense of smell and their hearing. It's the equivalent of us losing our hearing compared to our sight. So he's been a trooper, still getting the medication of 6 drops in the morning, with like 1 eye, 5 minute wait. 1 eye, 5 minute wait. 1 eye, and we're done. No, 5 minute wait and then 1. Which I've got to do after this, by the way. Remind me of that. And then in the evening as well. So it's a lot of eye drops and artificial tears and things like that. Oh, Mr. C's made an appearance. Hello, Mr. C. not of a nice blessing, but because he is blind in one eye, Mr. C can kind of get around him. But on the other hand, he can surprise Sebastian too. He's doing a lot better though, so his vision in his main eye, let's call it main eye now, is a lot better. I'm not sure what the percentage is. Hey Eric, great to have you here. Welcome. Hey Med, how you doing all the way in London, Richmond? Or Richmond, London? Hey Leah, all the way in Australia. Great to have you here. Michelle's here as well. Welcome back, as always. The other Med is here. The good Med. You're both good. It is. It is really good. And I made sure that the suggestions were around that as well, that you kind of radiate and push out. Like, that's how I see it as public speaking. In my comparison of how I wasn't very good at public speaking. If I'm good now, and who knows. But I used to absorb it in social situations and public speaking, but now I radiate it out. I push it out. And that means I'm in control of my energy. So you got the day version on my YouTube channel, and then we'll get the sleep one out coming soon as well. Ah, that's awesome. I love that we get to share the work. Like, I've had so many people say, oh, we're doing like a road trip, and my children listen to your, like the wide awake stuff like this. That's amazing. Thank you for letting me know that as well. I love it. You are most welcome. Like I said, we've got the Ask the Universe What You Want, which is a big winner. It's kind of like YouTube's like the lottery. The more, I don't do the lottery, but like you'll just win at one video and it'll just really add. And that's been a winner so far. Oh yeah, I should cook him something. Yeah, and he's doing a lot better. Welcome back. Great to have you here. Is your sister here too? Always a pleasure to have you both here. Ah. Sorry to hear that. You feel better now. Now. You'll feel better. Public speaking is more of the problem for the people having to listen to it than they are of the speaker. Can be the case, right? Yeah, public speaking was... I think I said on the... I don't know if I did actually, but I was going through the story of me a few episodes ago. I think it was last Monday. But I went from England to Irvine, California, my first time in California, to become a trainer. And they broke you down. It was 30 days of training with 1 day off. 1 day off. And it was intense. The first exercise was you had to just stand there in front of like 6 to 8 people for a minute or two and say nothing. Literally just look at them, look at them, look at them, and do nothing. And some people had panic attacks. Like just holding that space is really intense for them. So... and it was intense for me. I didn't have a panic attack or anything, but just like being in the moment. And now when I speak, I almost use that in real life speaking, in terms of like trainings and seminars or events. I just spend 20 seconds in front of everyone. So even if it's like 200-300 people and I'm on stage, I just don't speak for like 20-30 seconds, and I look around the room and I just go, be comfortable in the silence. It's a real big test, but I kind of thrive off that. Yeah. So that track is for you if you're an empath, which I am as well, by the way, for everyone out there. And that's kind of why I do what I do, but I learned to manage that energy because it's not that helpful feeling your clients' big issues from fears or past traumatic stresses and big conflicts. I don't serve anyone if I'm in that state. So I protect my energy. A bit like in that session, like a force field. Yeah, heal now. Okay, cool. We'll be starting in a few minutes. But what else we got to say? I think that's it. I think that's it. And I've got some new energy I'm drinking. So I ran out of my energy powder stuff. And I order in bulk, like 6 of them. And it's not getting here till next week, so I had to same day Amazon a new one, and I have to say it's pretty good. And it's all healthy. But I'm getting a different buzz because I'm not used to all the things. One of the problems for me of doing something successful is being uncomfortable with being noticed. That's my craziness. I don't think you're alone there, though. I think I'm thinking if we go back in time, way back, and I'm talking not 10 years, not 20 years, not 30 years, I'm talking hundreds of years. If we were back then in our tribes, in our little communities, when we did public speaking, or if we're in front of people, what was the main reason as to why you'd be in front of someone in your tribal community way back then? What would be one of the reasons as to why you would be called up in front of everyone? Have a little think of that. Let me know in the chat. I like solitude and quietness. This is where I get to be more extroverted, but then after this, I don't need to speak. I just stop. Silence is my solitude. Yes. That's so awesome. What would be one of the reasons to be called up in front of your local community or tribe way back then? I'll give you 60 seconds. What would be one of the reasons to be called up in front of the tribal community that you're in? Oh, I had some audio for this. says a 45-minute song. Well, I created it anyway, but... Oh. You done it yet? No, I wanted that to go to the music. I had to do it manually. So your answers were... Oh, very quickly. Nice. Well, thank you so much. So pleased you're enjoying it. I'm putting so much out right now, so more than ever. Thank you for being a subscriber. Hit the thumbs up, everybody. And do me a favor. If I release a video, I want to do a little experiment. We can get a lot of chatters here, which is amazing, but we don't always get too many comments on the videos. Would you be ever so kind of you to leave a comment on the videos I release? I want to do that little social experiment to see if that is a good, well, it is a good thing. Not multiple comments, that's bad. Multiple comments, it'll seem like you're a butt. And YouTube will either hide them, delete them, or just put my videos down lower. So just the one comment. But if you could just comment, well, just when it releases, you get a notification. I want to just test that out, if you'd be so kind. Obviously, if you enjoyed it, not just do it randomly. I want it to be authentic. So we've got, if you did something wrong, danger to the village, exited from the group, or like exiled. To get your point across, being an entertainer, to announce something as a leader for helping the leader, being a bully to the others, to recite a poem. Yeah, so if we think about the main fears of public speaking, it's going to be more on the if you did something wrong. Was there someone else who said that? If you did something wrong. Like if you were called up in front of everyone, it's usually because you did something bad. So I think a lot of us, that's what I thought you meant, yeah. Yeah, which would be the same thing, right? Being exiled. So yeah, just when I release the videos, that'd be wonderful if you could do that. I just want to test something to see what happens. So I think a lot of our public speaking fears is because biologically, if we're called up in front, like even at school, if you're like done something wrong, all the attention's on you. So I think that's where a lot of the public fears come from, other than certain specific events we go through as well. But I think inherently there's a part of us that fears being in front of people, because I might be making all this up, by the way. That's my theory. Do you think that's a good theory? I think that's a good theory. Even if you did something good, that can be very embarrassing, like, because we find it hard to have praise. So maybe that would be very much like some of you are saying there as well. Yeah, that's what I think, like the biology of us. There we go. Eric says, oh, that makes so much sense. I think so. Because even if you go, even if it didn't happen, right, you'd probably be in fear of being called up, right? You'd like, even if you never got called up, but you saw people getting called up for doing bad things, you'd probably have that fear of going, I don't want to be that person who has to go up there, because that means I've done something wrong. It's a bit like even we go like with children, when your attention's on you, it's usually because you've done something wrong. Joseph, get down here. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that we would have to be that up on the, I can't talk right now. I'll get into speaking when I'm actually teaching, but just the observation that most of the time people getting called up for maybe doing something wrong, or the fear of judgment, would be a part, well, I don't want to do that. And by the way, is it M11 or M11? I know your real name, but I'm just curious. I can be in front of people as long as I don't have to speak. I was a competitive figure skater, and being in front of large crowds didn't bother me, but also I was far away from them. So that's interesting as well, isn't it? Like the different context of being in front of people. Depending if we're speaking, depending if we're performing. Okay, M11. Got it. I'll remember. What's that in the context of? Like, are we projecting, or am I projecting what I think it is, or in the context of being called up? There's a bit of a delay on the chat, so sometimes I've gone down different rabbit holes. But with that, we should probably get on with the show. My assistant did say I may have made a spelling mistake in the thumbnail. I was on my way out, so I didn't have time to change it, but in the thumbnail or in the title. So if I did, then I do apologize. Yeah, that could be one as well, right? Yeah. So I think a lot of the scenarios, well, it's either two. Very quickly before we start, there's two. We've either done something bad or we've done something good. If we've done something bad, we don't want that because we don't like the attention. If we did something good, as humans, we find it hard to accept accomplishments because maybe we've been told, like, don't be egotistical, or we just don't like that kind of spotlight on us because maybe it brings pressure. So either option can actually cause issues, which is interesting. Yeah. I mean, speaking is very different. Well, that's my projection, I would say. But I feel like if you're doing something more physical, or like something that you like dancing, you can let go and be more in the zone, where speaking, you can be more self-conscious, I think. I might be projecting there, generalizing. Yeah, it is weird. Weird. It's weird being a human, isn't it? Is it weird being a human? I think it's a bit weird at times. Yeah. I declare it's weird to be a human. Quick hydration, then we'll go. Yeah. It's weird. Yeah. I'm dehydrated. Sorry, I need to really hydrate because otherwise it's not going to be a good listening experience. So I do apologize. Hopefully that will do it. Hopefully there wasn't too much energy in that bit, otherwise we're going at 100 mile an hour today.
We're just talking like this, so what you want to understand is talking about your issues can cause all these issues. Many thanks and goodbye.
That could be what the episode might be like today now. So I feel a bit of the energy. Whew. Let's get to it. Oh, I gotta do one thing actually. So I've got a teleprompter here. I need to move your chat over here. Then, I don't know if you see like a lightness here. But this, I'm going to make it a black screen. I'm going to put it into teleprompter mode, which will make it darker. So let's just see. Don't know if that did anything to you, but it did to me. No, stop. 1 second. Yeah. A lesson to self. Do not down energy powder in a 20-second window when you're about to do a live. Yep. Yep. Okay, let's be serious. Let's stop this music. Let's breathe. Let's work this out together. And let's do this. Episode 936. Oh my goodness. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 936. And today we are talking about something that might be a little bit controversial. It might push up against your boundaries. It might make some people feel bad. It might feel like I'm throwing stones at certain industries. And despite all of that, I want to say it anyway. So stay with me on this. Is talking about our issues causing us more pain and causing us to stay the same? You see, there are therapies out there which are based purely on talk therapy, right? Like just talking things out. And by the way, so many practitioners of psychologists, psychotherapists, and therapists do recommend my app and my work to people. So I want to have a bit of a disclaimer, but I'm not talking specifically about all those people. What I'm just trying to get across is if we don't have like an endpoint, if we are consciously as the client, or even if we're not working with anyone, let's put it into that context. Like I said, I'm not throwing stones at anything. I love all forms of therapeutic change which gears people up for success and gets the outcome. So let me be very, very clear on that. What I'm talking about is the continued cycle of thinking about your own issue, or even just talking about it with your friends. Like if that's what you do, you talk about your issues, you talk about all your bad relationships, or you talk about all your woes when it comes to money. You're talking about maybe your depression or your addiction or whatever it is, whatever the anxiety, social anxiety. Or we talk about why we're not worthy, good enough, deserving. If we keep on talking about it, it can actually create huge, big issues. But let me tell you when it does work. The whole idea of talking about our issue is to get it out from the inside, whether it be with a practitioner. Like I said, they're great practitioners out there, so I don't want it to come across. So I know it's a bit controversial with the way I said it. But if we keep all our stuff on the inside, it kind of just brews there. It kind of doesn't get worked out. So it's an easy thing as to why we want to talk about our issues. We want to get it out. We want to be able to figure it out, get clarity on it. And if we're talking with someone, we want another person's perspective, right? If we go through their perspective, we get hopefully learnings and education from that. So we can understand why the intention to talk about our stuff is really good, because one of the key is as well, another section to this is the more you talk about it, the idea is the more the emotional energy starts to dissipate. It's like, I was thinking about this today. Say you had fears of watching horror movies. Well, if you watch the same horror movie that you were originally fearful of, even if you did like 10-minute sections and then went back to it, 10-minute sections and went back to it. If then after a while you saw that horror movie like 20, 30, 50, 60, 100 times, after a while you're gonna like, this is just no energy to it. I'm not very fearful or scared anymore because I know what's happening. I understand it. I know it's a movie. Like, it's gonna lose that energetic charge to it. And that's the same way of what talk therapy can do. Or if you're airing it out with your friends or your partner or your work colleagues and all those things. So that's a really good theory. But sometimes it can actually create more pain. And the reason is, the more you go there, if the unconscious learning and transformation, because that's what, when we talk about it enough, we want to gain that insight and epiphany, which happens at an unconscious level. So we talk about it until the unconscious mind goes, now I understand. If the unconscious mind does not understand, does not get that upgrade, doesn't get that epiphany or insight, it will feel like this cycle. It will be like we're just trying to cope with the situation, or we're talking about, thinking about it, it just reaffirms it. Think about what a positive affirmation is. And I have some thoughts on positive affirmations, as you may know if you've listened to me. If you haven't, just go on my app or YouTube and just type in positive affirmations, Joseph Clough, why they don't work. And I talk about it. I talk about where they do work and where they don't work. But if you think of the theory, once again, of positive affirmations, is that the more times you say it, the more times you hope to assume it to be true. It's an identity. So I have positive affirmations in my hypnosis sessions. I think they're really good. But I think it needs that learning and an insight. But just the theory of positive affirmations is the ability to affirm something until it becomes true. What are we doing when we're talking about our issue all the time, or replaying all the time, or just talking about our friends all the time, or our partner all the time? Aren't we doing what the opposite of a positive affirmation? Isn't it becoming a negative affirmation? By just simply talking about it. Even if we go on the biology, we have the neural networks. If you go and have a certain thought consistently over time, the neural networks will get closer and they'll fire off quicker and quicker and quicker. It's just the way the brain is. Now, if you're talking about the issue, aren't we just downtrodden that pathway to just go to that place quicker and faster and just reaffirming that, which actually becomes a loop in the mind? You're just looping and looping. There's no exit point. And we'll get to how we can actually utilize talk therapy or airing it out with your friends and all those things in a healthy way soon. But I want you to get into the understanding. The more you talk about it, the more you're affirming it into existence. And that can become our story. It can become our thing. It can even become our label. Like, I am a depressed person. I am an alcoholic. I am an OCD person. Now, that could be an aspect of you. It's not all you are. And I'll even tell you, even with labels, I'm not a big fan of labels, but I understand why we have them, because it's like a good starting point. It goes, I now know I'm not broken. I know I've got this issue. That label makes sense to me. But if I buy into that label forever, it also limits me the opportunity of being anything other than that label. So I like it as an understanding point, as like, okay, this is who I am, but then how can I shift from that? And that can be some of the problems with some support groups, because we go into that, like AA is amazing, right? For so many people. But for some people, it can create that loop. Like I said, I'm not throwing stones at these things. I'm just kind of hopefully highlighting aspects where it doesn't work. And that means you can wake up and go, I can educate myself here. I can change myself here. I can do something different. But sometimes repeating that same story, having that label, can actually mean that that's all I am. And it stops me being anything other than that. And if we think of what depression is is the rumination of a form of repetitive thought, a negative thought process that continually, if I'm saying continually looping in the mind without an end or a completion. That's what we're doing, just thinking negative. And as I said, we go to this looping situation. There's no end outcome. There's no exit strategy. It's just this continued cycle. And that deepens the neural pathways. That's where we get into labels, and that's an issue. So I just want you to be aware. Number one, the intention to talk things out is good, because it's better than keeping it in the system. But the continued cycle of talking and talking about your issue, if there's no unconscious epiphany to be had, because if you could let go of the issue, you'll click your fingers and let it go. If you cannot, it must mean it's unconscious. So sometimes talking it out will get that epiphany, great. But if it doesn't work and it hasn't been working fully, or you just find yourself in that same old story, that same cycle of looping, here's what you have to do. You've got to make a decision to break that cycle. And you can use hypnosis and all those types of things. But what I like to do is I like to have an end date, an end cycle. And I even set this up with my business. So my program, Let's Go of the Issue within 8 weeks. Right? It's not like a year program. It's not a 5-year program. It's not a no end point. I like to go, we will let go of this issue within 8 weeks. Not like next month, maybe next year. Have you ever had that thought? I'm going to just quit smoking next year. Or I'm going to just kind of get in shape next month. There's always a next, and that's not an ending of that cycle. So be very clear of going, I am going to commit to letting go of this issue, fill in the blank, by this time. It will put pressure on you, but it also give you a good pressure to go, I'm ready to have that end loop at an unconscious level. That's going to be one of the biggest changes that you're going to make to break the cycle of just talking and talking and talking, looping and looping and looping, cycling and cycling and cycling without an end or completion date. That's what rumination is. There's no end date. It's that continued negative thinking. And this is something, by the way, that has actually been proven in studies. I cannot remember the study itself, but they introduced this form of talking, and even there was one other one about mindfulness, and they did it with students in these different separate studies. And the notion of being conscious of the issue and continuing thinking about it and talking about it actually increased anxiety in these young youths, simply by always being talking about it, always being ever present without the action of wanting to resolve it, or being able to resolve it, I should say. So there are lots of studies about this, and you can look it up online. It's a bit hard, I haven't got the keywords for you, but it's been almost proven. Like, for some people it will help, of course. Like I said, I'm not saying it all doesn't work, but what it can do is create this never-ending cycle. So number one, realize your unconscious mind is doing this, whatever the issue is, for a reason. Number two, allow the labels to make sense of the world or about yourself, but don't be confined by them. You're so much more than that. If I always, which I did, I believed I was a blusher. I believed I was an anxious person. If that was only the beliefs that I had, I'll still have it. I'll just go, that's who I am. And that is not who you are. You are so much more. Whatever you think you are always more. So use the label for maybe, that makes sense. Now what can I do about it? Remember, the brain finds it very hard to distinguish between what is positive and negative. So if you're having that continuous thought, that neural network will get stronger. If you start to break that cycle and bring new affirmations or doing processes at an unconscious level, it too will create a neural pathway. Number 3, we want to make sure we have an end date. So ask yourself, if you have a big issue in your life, and I don't care how big it is, I don't care, well, I do care about you, but I'm talking about just like, I don't care what the issue is. Set yourself a timeline. Set yourself when you would like to do this. Yes, it will put a bit of pressure on you, but that's okay. Look, we're big enough to be able to deal with these things. We want to go, even if it was like in a year's time, I'm going to change my life. This time next year, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to have a little calendar, put it in my diary. I'm going to let go of this issue, or I'm going to get this thing in this time period. It will create motivation and leverage. And speaking of leverage, one of the things, I've said this on the episode quite a few times, come up with all the reasons as to why you need to change. Come up with the reasons what will happen if you don't change now. That's going to give you a bit of fire in your belly to go, this is why I've really got to change, at an unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind doesn't realize that what it's doing is an issue. It actually thinks it's doing a good thing for you. So you've got to break that cycle by coming up with all the reasons what will happen if you do change, all the reasons or all the things that will happen if you don't change, and then you've got to make a decision. You can't live in no man's land if you come up with all those opposites. And then go ahead and make a decision to reconnect with your unconscious mind. I was talking to someone just the other day, and I've said this on some sessions and some episodes, but you've got to be the person that you needed back then. I really firmly believe that. If you think about when our issues came into existence, it could be when we're very young, and or a big significant event. So that big significant event or series of events which are meaningful could have happened last week, but it could have happened when you're very, very young. Well, you need to be the person that you needed back then. You need to be the person with the guidance, the learnings, the ability, the desire, and the more you start to operate from that place, you'll then befriending your unconscious mind. And I think your unconscious mind's your best friend. And if you change that relationship, rather being a passenger to your unconscious mind, you actually become the driver of your unconscious mind. You're saying, hey, it's okay, I've got you. Let me guide us on this one. You've been trying to protect for so long for the best of intentions, I understand, but now it's time for me to take back in the driving seat and do what has to be done. So hopefully you got value from this. The main thing is talking about your issues without an exit plan, without an end date, can actually just create more stress, more depression, and more anxiety and more isolation of a label of that's all you are. Use the labels to maybe make sense of what you are or what you're playing out right now, but don't let it define and confine you. Use it as a starting point to leap off to who you actually want to become and break that cycle. Whether you're using hypnosis, whether you're walking with a coach, or whether you're walking, it could be walking, there's walk therapy, I guess, but whether you're talking with someone in a therapeutic, invite that I'm going to have this end date of where I'm done. Oh, and a brief example of this, grieving is a huge one. I learned a long time ago a process of grieving, which means you don't have to be in grief, because there's an end cycle to what I'm going to teach you. If someone is grieving, or if you're grieving, it can just consume you. It can overwhelm you. So just get this as like a context of how you can make changes. So use this as an example, in other words. Most people are grieving is that overwhelming feeling of grief, sadness, even anger, hurt, loss. Most of us have been there. I know I have. And one thing that I learned a long time ago was to be able to set a condition of my grief or with my clients. And that was, rather it just happening all the time, I would say, set up a time to grieve. Like where you can fully grieve. Maybe it's going to be 5 p.m. every day for 10 minutes and you're going to grieve. But at the end of that 10 minutes, you're going to say, I'm done with this now until tomorrow at 5 p.m. And what that starts to do after a while, it gives you the ability to turn on and turn off that grief. You're also putting your priority to really grieve, not just all the time beneath the surface, but you're just saying, this is my time to let it out. But the key as to why that works is you're having this end cycle. We start and then we stop. And that should be as the analogy of all transformation. We have an issue and then we're going to stop it. I'm going to make a decision. We'll do whatever it takes to stop this issue, this cycle, rather at looping and looping and looping, so I'm out of control of it. It's time for you to take control, to be the decider. After all, your unconscious mind is the goal getter and your conscious mind is the goal setter. So if you set a new goal, new outcome, and do the work, you will start to send that signal to your best friend, the unconscious mind. Now, of course, if you ever need personal help with letting go of your anxiety, worries, fears, and doubts, the imposter syndrome, you can personally apply to work with me and my team ultimately. We've got a small little team, but we're here to support you each step along the way. You can go ahead and apply to work with us. You've got to be invested. It's not free. It is for fully customized. Imagine, like, at the moment, this is going to change, but imagine having custom hypnosis with your name on it, your desires, and I create that for you in this certain tailored experience, plus all the other crazy cool things we have within the system. It is tailored for you. So that's josephclough.info/talk, where you get to have a one-to-one call with us. We'll get clear on where you are, where you want to be, what's getting in the way, and if we can solve it, we may invite you into the program. You've got to be invested in time, just a couple hours a week for 8 weeks. That's our end cutout of we just solve everything. And on top of that, you've got to be invested in yourself financially, because it's not a free program. It is, I like to think, a world-class program using the last 20 plus years of my experience, so you don't have to go through all the learning education yourself. You just get the shortcut. So once again, that is josephclough.info/talk. But either way, as I said, you have the ability to break the cycle and actually begin to speak in a different way. Speak into existence your solution, not your problem, because that will lead us down two different roads and two different pathways, metaphorically and also on a neurological level. So I look forward to speaking to you on a future episode. Many thanks and goodbye. We did it, everybody. Episode 936. Beep. We can bring the chat into the teleprompter window. Hey Mary, great to have you here. And look at that, that's exactly what I'm on about. Don't let labels define and confine. Yeah. Like, just to be clear, I'm not saying labels are bad, because it's all contextualized, or contextual, or context. But to live only by them, use them to make sense. Like, I know there's a bit of part of me which is a bit dyslexic sometimes. But if I use that dyslexia that I can't learn anything, that's why I can't, because trust me, with dyslexia, it's really, really interesting to work with people who've had that issue, because dyslexics can do so many awesome things. They just haven't got the right learning strategy at times. For example, my dad was working with a client who had dyslexia. Really struggled at school, right? Really, really bad. Very much like me, not getting the grades, couldn't understand things. Not that I had that kind of level of dyslexia, but I just didn't learn very well at school. And she couldn't focus. That was her issue. So my dad said, well, what do you enjoy doing? And he knew the answer to this because we do our research on things. And she said, I love to race those like go-kart things, but like professional ones, not just ones locally. That should be in competitions. Think about how much focus you need to race competitively in these go-kart machines going whatever mile an hour around these tracks. You need immense concentration and focus. So why is it that we have one not in this area, but one in another area? Ultimately, they're same, well, they're different strategies, but what if we learned the strategy of the driving into the learning of education? And that's what my dad did. It was hard to break the label because the person thought, I'm dyslexic and I have ADHD, I can't focus on anything. But when we brought to when he brought to the other example, it kind of shifted. It kind of broke through. It's actually, well, I can do this. I haven't got ADHD and dyslexia in that context, which is interesting, don't you think? But if they bought into that label as that's all they are, just think how much that limits them. Thank you, Caroline. Great to have you here as always. Pleased to hear it. I should have actually added to this. Actually, let's do something real quick. This won't be in the YouTube. Well, maybe. Remember, Joseph, to do something in the edit. So let's see if we can just do this on the fly. Feel free to bring your comments in if you want. Now, one of the things to also remember when I'm saying talking about your issues, if you're going to talk about your issues with people, make sure it's with the right people. So if your friends are buying into that pain and they go, oh, it's okay because you're this, because of that, because of this happened, and it just reaffirms the issue, you want to change that relationship. Doesn't mean you have to change and find new people. You just got to maybe communicate differently with them and say, look, I want you to support me in a different way. I want you to lift me up. I want you to point me to the positive. I want you to focus on the outcome. Yeah, let it out, but also realize it's not just letting it out and reaffirming, it's actually letting it out and then refocusing. So community is really important around that. So find a community that is not just reaffirming your issues or you reaffirming their issues. Let it out, but then have an outcome where you go, what can we do about this? Give me some insights. What can I learn? What can you learn from this? And that means you're changing the relationship with your friends or your partner and creating healthy associations to talking it out. That could be another great way to start making changes as well. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Leah, for that. I'll add that in post-production. Thank you so much. Hope to have your sister on the next live stream if they're available. It's always a pleasure to have like family members all together. Or maybe friends as well. Friend watch party. I know we've had like father and son in the chat. But that's really nice. And thank you. Episode 936. Oh my goodness, we've been streaming for an hour. We've been touring for an hour. What we speak, we become, right? Did Buddha say that? He said it far better than me. Something similar to that. Break free of the labels. Thank you, Cheryl. Very kind, and thank you, Eric. I'm pleased you brought that up about I think you said that, but yeah, you did start it. You know, about the speaking in public while we may have biological fears. And what you could say is, now you know that for everyone else about public speaking, but we don't have to consciously and biologically do it anymore because it's far different times from way back then. So if you missed what we're talking about here, get to the pre-show and get on the discussion as to why we may have public speaking fears biologically. But great to have you here. And remember, everyone, if I do release a video and you see it and you watch it and you go, that's pretty cool, would you be kind enough to leave a comment on YouTube? Once again, not multiple comments, because that will actually make the channel be less, because it'll be like spam or a bot. So just the one comment of what you got value from. I'm just curious about the test of that, because I love you chatting on here, and maybe we can migrate that onto the video as well. I always try to reply on a lot of them. And you'll see other channels who don't do that, by the way, so I do my best. I usually do it in the evening in my downtime to reply, and but I'd be very grateful if you could leave a reply or a comment on any new one that you enjoyed. So there you go. With that, we shall stop the stream, I think. I think we're done. So have a most wonderful weekend, whatever you're doing. And I'm going to be hanging out with the two little boys. Try and do a quick bit of editing. Well, make sure that also changes as well, because you're talking about to everyone here, but find other people, because you can't be reliant on one person, because that's not going to be very helpful, because that just means, I mean, what if I just stopped? What if something happened to me? Then we're locked down again. So you want to make sure you find a good network of people, or more people, to be able to talk about those things. Even if you're paying professionally, like I said, talk therapy can be really, really good. Or friends, or even online friends. It could be any friends. But I like that you can now do that, but I wonder how else we can grow with that as well. Thank you, Caroline. You have a great weekend. Does chatting here equal a video comment? No, it doesn't, I don't think. Like, I think if we had tons of YouTube viewers, it would elevate it. But once the video's done, it brings, once this live stream's done, then you'll be able to actually comment on the video. But I'm not too worried about the live stream videos. I appreciate you asking that question. It's more about the upload. I get hardly any traffic on lives. And like, to be honest, I shouldn't be doing lives. Lives are not helping the channel grow. It's nice. I mean, I get to hang out with you and chat, and I feel like we've got a nice little community where we can connect. But they don't help the channel that much whatsoever. It's probably like 2% of my views, maybe a bit more than that. I just do it to hopefully add more value and help more people. The YouTube uploads, which get released, that is what YouTube really pays attention to. Because you have online platforms like, say, Twitch, which is more of a live streaming thing where you get to hang out with your community. That's like where they play games and things like computer games. That's what it's built for, live chat. Whereas the YouTube is mainly for videos with the side of it of live streaming too. So yeah, the YouTube video comments is where it's going to be really helpful for me. But like I said, I love the fact that people do chat in here. I mean, if not, I wouldn't definitely be doing it. Thank you, Leah. Here's another thing. My speaking videos are not very big view getters either way. If I were to just be this purely for business, in terms helping people, but for business, I would not appear on the camera at all. I really wouldn't. If I were to be very efficient with my time and totally go for a different route, if I were to start again differently, to save myself time, I would not be on video at all. Now, why do I go on video? Because I think it's so important to get the conscious learning. Why do I go live? I really like speaking to you all personally, and I feel like being here in the moment is far more better sometimes because you know that it's a live situation. But purely going live and being on camera is not the most beneficial for me in business because it takes so much time as well. Yeah, there's so many different platforms as well. You got like Kick, LinkedIn, you can go live in Twitter, X, Facebook. Well, hopefully good things. Yeah, they're all hypnosis and coaching should all be geared for more freedom and options. I'm pleased it's helping you. Some people can be a bit skeptical around hypnosis, so sometimes I've got to experience it or see if you're changing. But yes, get that review up. No pressure, of course. But although the lives and the stuff like that don't really contribute to the growth, they don't do like negative things, I don't think, based on my analytics. It just doesn't contribute to growth. But what does it contribute? Well, hopefully a community connection. So I don't want to be like downplaying it. I think that is important as well. It's just not the most efficient. So the intention is to go, I really love our community and we get to chat. That's what I like. It's fun. I get to be a bit sillier sometimes. I get to bring the little boy wearing my jumper. Oh, and thumbs up helps as well. Thumbs up, share, and comment. So thank you so much, everybody. I will speak to you on... Oh, Nesta just got it. Nesta. We're just finishing. Get YouTube for the greatest playback. Because I think Facebook's just gonna mute me. Censor me, as it always does. But great to have you here, Nesta. Okay, then enjoy your weekend. I look forward to speaking to you on the next episode, which will be on Monday. And I have no idea what we'll talk about, but we'll find that out. So, speak to you all soon. Many thanks and goodbye.